they bring out animals from different places in the world, from the streets in South America and some abandoned animals, and from different places in the world. And then they're able by training them to make them do amazing things. So they put up this nice show, and I'm sure some of you have seen similar shows, and you find like a little dog driving a little cart and opening a box and then waving his hands to the audience like he's greeting them. So it's amazing how you can train little animals to do amazing things like this. And in Hebrew 5:14 speaks about those whose senses have been trained. Today marks 7 days before the start of the Great Lent, and for many reasons, the Great Lent is the season to develop new habits. And if you look at how we train animals to do impossible things that otherwise no animal can do, then what can we train ourselves human to do? I want to talk to you about 3 things today, 3 main ideas. The power of a habit, and how do we develop habits, and why the Great Lent is a good time to develop new habits. According to a study in Duke University, they found that 80% of the time we don't make decisions what we do. 20% of the time only we're making decisions. 80% of the time we're not deciding what we're doing. We're on autopilot mode. We're like primitive animals. We're just executing the habits that we learn. And out of 400,000 information we get from our senses, from our ear, eyes, and all 400,000 information, we only process 400 of them. And the rest of the day, we're just executing the habits that we learn. We are our habits. We are our habits. Most of the time, we're not thinking what we're doing. We're just doing the habits that we learn. The habits are the explanation of why we do what we do in life and business. It's amazing how habits influence our life. For instance, our habits very simply influence our health outcome. For instance, like heart diseases and lung diseases, and a lot of our health outcomes depend solely on the habits that we have. And at the same time, also our habits influence our eternity. Mary Hadasriani says that for many reasons, the good habit will be the way to go to heaven, and for many people, the bad habits will be the reason not to go to heaven. There is a very nice book that Emma Macarius, Bishop of Flaminia, wrote about formation of a new habit. There is a New York columnist who wrote a really nice book about how people use marketing, how people use habits to implement marketing things. Like, for instance, they found out patterns on loyalty card or credit cards, how people do things, and then they end up making people buy things that they don't buy. And he wrote the whole book, and it's really nice how by knowing the habits of people, you can make them do a lot of things. You see, our brain is just so small to fit in our head, so it has to run very efficiently. So whenever the brain notices that there is a pattern that we're doing, it just registers this pattern in a non-thinking way, and it just delegates it to non-thinking centers, and we end up doing those things just as a habit, without thinking about it. And this is why habits are very dangerous, because they form while we're not aware, and they execute while we're not aware. We're not knowing, we don't know why we do this stuff, but we keep doing it. And it just implements everything in our life. It's very influential in our life. So it's like a parable of the enemy who came while people are asleep and planted weeds in the middle of the wheat. We don't know that we're developing it, but we are developing it. But there is a great power if you can take on habits and you can form habits, being aware that you're forming habits. And I think that one of the reasons why the church has made those long fasting periods is for us to develop habits that we start in the light and then sticks with us and hopefully lead us to be with God in eternity. It's like you knowing the code of your brain. It's It's like you're writing a software in your brain, and it just auto runs every day. It's like you are the programmer now. You are writing the code for your brain. You see, successful people are regular people, but they just have successful habits. Maybe they're not aware of it, but they just have successful habits. Michael Phelps is the most decorated man in the Olympic fields of all time, not only in swimming. He won more medals than anyone on earth, on all sports, not just swimming. He broke more records than anyone else. And his coach, Bowman, says that for 2 hours before every race, Michael Phelps does the same thing in the same sequence, in the same time. He does the same stretching, the same eating, the same heart-raising exercises, listens to the same music, wears the same clothing, speaks to the same people on the phone, does everything in the same habits. He's not aware of it, but he's just doing it in the same sequence. It's just a habit that he develops. And then when the time comes to the race, he's just doing the habits that he's doing every day. It's amazing how habits can be done when they are masters, can be done very fast and very powerfully. And another example is the Indiana Colts. Until 2005, Indiana Colts were not any nationally recognized football team, and until this man, Tony Dungy, signed a 3-year contract with them. And in 2006, in the season of 2006, they won 19 games in a row for the first time in their life. And in 2007, they won the Super Bowl. And there is a nice article for this man, Dungy, and he speaks about how when he took the team, the only thing he was focusing on is just developing new habits. And he said, I just developed a very few habits, 5 or 6 things, that when you see players in this position, just run this way, and even before the ball is thrown, just run this way. It's very simple. It's very simple. But he says, champions don't do extraordinary things. They just have the habit of doing ordinary things, and then because they do it over and over and over, they just do it without thinking. He said, my goal with this team is to take thinking out of the equation, to make them just do habits of right things. And because they have been doing it a lot in training, they were able to execute it, and the defense team did not have time to think on how to react to those habits. So habits are very powerful. Again, we are our habits. I mean, 80% of the time we're just doing our habits. We're not thinking of what we're doing. Habits are very powerful. And how do we develop new habits? Second thing I want to talk about. How do we develop new habits? I mean, it's not as complicated as we think. This puzzle has been solved. There's a lot of neuroscience there, and the way we develop new habits has been studied, and there are rules on how you develop new habits. There is a website called 21 Days on a Habit, and this website, if you register and put your email, it sends you a reminder every day, and it keeps on nagging you. Did you do your habits today? Did you do your habits today? And if you stop in one day, it just resets to day one, and it starts again. So if you do anything consistently for 21 days, you develop a new habit, right? So this is why a great length is amazing. But there are 2 caveats. First, you have to develop one habit at a time. We had a friend at school who was 2 years younger than me, but he was a spiritual role model to me. And he told me that he let me on, one of his secrets is that every great length he takes on one thing, whether it's a prayer or Bible or the arrow prayer, and he was able to learn it and just stuck with it. It didn't stop after the length. And this is what's amazing about the length, is that if we develop new habits in the length, they are just going to stay with us for the rest of our lives. There is no investment on earth better than developing a new habit, because it's something that you develop and just sticks and it keeps executing every day. So develop only one habit at a time. One habit at a time. So if we have 7 days until the length, think about one habit, like praying every day, or using the Akbay, or complimenting people, or praising God every day. You just have to choose one habit. It's so much simpler to develop one habit. The second thing is this: keep it simple. Keep the habit, keep the habit that you're trying to develop simple. You can't start reading 3 or 4 chapters in the Bible and develop the habit of reading the Bible. You just have to start very small. There is a doctor at Stanford University. His name is Dr. Fogg, and he has done PhDs on habit development, and he has a TED talk on YouTube. It's 30 minutes, and the whole talk is about small wins. So he did a study, and he found that it's easier for people to learn to floss their teeth after they brush their teeth, and for 21 days they flossed only one tooth. You see, you're not learning how you floss the rest of your teeth. You're just trying to develop the habit that after you leave your brush, you reach for your floss. He said also that it's more likely for you to develop the habit of going to the gym every day if you go to the gym for 21 days in a row and do nothing. Just go to the gym, just eat chocolate there and come back. It's serious. It's that you're not, at this point, you're only trying to develop a new habit. So just keep it simple in the beginning. You will grow, but what you're trying to do right now is you're trying to write a program that registers in your brain and sticks with you for the rest of your life. The golden rule of habit formation is called the trigger. Okay. It's the same way they taught the animals. We all know the Pavlovian dog and how they made animals like condition things. So the trigger is very important. And for you to know the triggers in your life, just look at your routine. Like for instance, I wake up in the morning, I leave the bed, I open my car door, I get on the school bus, I stop at this red light. So you know constant things. All you need to do is link the new behavior to constant things. For instance, like every day, before I leave the bed, I will say the Arab prayer 10 times. Or Buna Dawood Lamy said one time in the retreat in Dallas that one nice way to learn the Arab prayer, that when you wake up at night to go to the bathroom, on your way to the bathroom, say the Arab prayer on the way. And it sticks with you. All you need is just link it. Just link it. You want to say something? Yes. So we're talking about 3 things, right? So first, you develop only one habit. Second, keep it simple. And third, you link it to something that you do every day. For instance, every day you eat breakfast, or every day you go to the school, or every day you open the door for your house, right? So just say every time when I open the door, I will thank God for 3 things. So after doing this for 21 days, you will develop a habit, okay? It's just very simple. It's very simple, it's easy and simple, and very influential. And I think there is no investment that we can do more than this. And the other thing that's very important for developing a habit is being consistent. So this website that sends you the 21-day email, for a reason, the website will reset if you miss a day. If you miss one day, the website will start from day 1 again. So consistency needs a lot of willpower. And I think the grit length is the workout for willpower. I mean, you are fasting for this extended period of time, and you are already working on your willpower. And believing that you can develop a habit and have the willpower to start the habit is very important. So many times we'll listen to a sermon and say, hey, this sermon is amazing, this sermon has changed my life. Or we go to a retreat for 3 days and we say, I'm a new person after this retreat. And it turns out that maybe like a week or a month after that, we're just back to our regular life and we forgot everything that we learned. And the reason why we go back, at least a big deal of the reason, is that we don't execute what we learned for 21 days and learn a new habit. I mean, we get the emotional excitement of the sermon. But what we do after that is keeping consistent on doing it for every day is very important. And I remember one time we were talking in the middle school about New Year resolution, and we said that many times we do the New Year resolution, and by January 5th, we have already stopped doing it. And the only guarantee that we don't stop doing it is there is no guarantee. There is no guarantee that January 5th we will not stop doing it. But the guarantees that we can always start January 6th and do it for 21 days. So even if he stopped it one time, they'll give up and come back. Just 21 days of doing any simple things. And I think that Great Lent is a very good opportunity for it. You need just patience and consistency. And it is so worth it. You are doing something that is going to stick with you for the rest of your life. Last thing I want to speak about is bad habits. You have a bad habit. How do you stop that? And the answer is impossible. Once you have a habit, it's just wired in your brain. It's like you're trying to ungrow. So that your neurons are changing in size. You're trying to you can't lose height, for instance. So it's very, very hard, almost impossible to lose a habit. But they studied habits and they found that there is something called trigger and loop and reward. So the way to get rid of a habit is that you change it. You change the habit to something else. One of the very nice training that our fathers of confession always give us when we try to fight judging people, he says, every time you catch yourself judging, pray for this person. Say, God, give him a lot of money. God, give him success. God, give him a lot of blessing in his life. God, give him a very nice kid. So every time you try to judge him, you pray for him. And many, many people have told me that this exercise have let them stop judging completely. I remember one of my friends, he actually, in Alexandria, and actually his father's confession was Abuna Hanna, and he had the habits of bad thoughts, and Abuna Hanna told him that every time you get it, do 10 songs with Timothy. And then, because we were very close, we were talking about everything, he came back to me and said, it's gone, and never came back. So the way you stop a bad habit is that you can't try to fight it. You just try to trick it. Every time it happens, you just try to link it to something else. And this is, like for instance, you see that you're spending a lot of time on Facebook and your mobile and your cell phone. Okay? So the answer to this is not to delete the Facebook application. You can delete it and you will download it again. So people spend hours on Facebook and people spend hours not on Facebook. Maybe somebody told me I spend 1 hour not on Facebook every day. So it's serious. I mean, and it's just you developing the trigger. Every time you get up your phone and your finger is just going to the Facebook icon right away. So just delete this icon and put another icon that gives you a Bible verses. And every time you look at your phone, click at the Bible and one verse will come and just memorize this verse. Now you satisfy the trigger. Because there's something called a serotonin rush. And it happens when the trigger happens and we don't do the habit, there is a lot of frustration that happens in our brain waiting for this satisfaction, for this serotonin rush to happen, and it's very hard to overcome. It's called craving, and it's very hard to overcome. So the only way is to just baby your brain, just do something else. Do something else to satisfy this rush, and it will just go away. And many people who succeeded into getting rid of bad habits were only able to do it this way. I mean, I pray that God give us all a new habit this Lent. And again, take those 7 days and think of one habit, only one habit. And make it simple and do it every day for 21 days. And through the grace of God, it will stick with you for the rest of your life. And